The human, whose name was Ethan, had always been drawn to quiet places. Cities with their noise, cars, and crowds never gave him peace. Instead, he sought solace in nature. In forests where the wind whispered through the trees and the snow painted the world in white. For years, he had chosen to live near the edge of a vast wilderness, in a small cabin he had built with his own hands. His days were simple. He would wake with the sun, tend to his little garden, chop firewood, and explore the surrounding forest. Sometimes he would track animals, quietly observing them without interfering. That was his life, peaceful alone, full of respect for the world around him. But life had a way of introducing the unexpected, and that winter, Ethan was about to face something beyond his imagination. It began subtly. At first, he noticed strange tracks in the snow, larger than any wolf or bear he had ever seen. Their claws were sharp, but their shape was unusual. They seemed intelligent somehow, as if the creature that made them knew where it wanted to go and moved with a purpose that was different from ordinary animals. At first, Ethan thought maybe it was his imagination. The forest played tricks on him sometimes, especially in the long, silent nights, when the wind would moan through the trees. Then came the howls. They were not like normal wolves. They were longer, deeper, and carried a strange echo that made the hairs on his neck stand up. On some nights, he would wake suddenly to hear them circling near his cabin. Sometimes the howls sounded almost like words, though he could never understand them. He tried not to let fear take over. He reminded himself that forests were full of mysteries, but humans always found explanations in the end. Or at least that's what he tried to believe. One evening, a violent storm swept through the wilderness. Snow fell heavily, and the wind roared like an angry beast. Ethan had secured his cabin, tying down loose boards and stacking firewood against the walls. Yet, as he sat by the fireplace, he felt an uneasy sense that something extraordinary was approaching. His instincts told him that the strange tracks and the howls were leading to this moment. Suddenly, shadow appeared outside his cabin window. At first, he thought it was an animal, but as his eyes adjusted to the dim light, he saw something that took his breath away. A massive wolf-like creature stood in the snow. Its fur was thick and shone like silver under the pale moonlight. Its eyes were golden, intelligent, and almost human in their depth. Ethan froze, unable to move, his heart pounding in his chest. Then, to his absolute astonishment, the creature spoke. Its voice was deep, commanding, and calm all at once. "Prepare yourself. Our species has chosen you." Ethan's mind struggled to process the words. Was he dreaming? Had the cold or the storm affected his senses? But no, the words had a weight to them, a reality that he could not deny. The creature's gaze held him, and within it, he felt both a challenge and an invitation. The wolf stepped closer, its movements graceful and deliberate, and yet every step radiated power. Ethan noticed scars along its silver fur, marks that suggested battles fought long ago. Despite its formidable presence, there was something in its eyes that made him feel a strange sense of calm. It was as if the creature could see right into his heart, understanding his fears, his hopes, and his past choices. The storm raged outside, but inside, the air seemed to hold a stillness that was almost sacred. Ethan realized that this moment was not random. The creature had not come to harm him. It had come for a reason, a purpose that he could not yet understand. He tried to speak, but words failed him. Every question he had, the tracks, the howls, the sense of being watched in the forest flashed in his mind. He wanted answers, but something told him that rushing to understand would not serve him well. This was a test of patience, of trust, and of courage. The wolf finally lowered its massive head to Ethan's level, its breath forming clouds in the cold air. "We have been hidden from your world for many generations," it said. "We have watched, we have waited, and now we have chosen you. Not because you are strong, not because you are brave in the usual sense, but because of your heart, your actions, and your ability to see the world with respect." Ethan's mind spun. A hidden species? Watching him for generations? Chosen for his compassion? It sounded impossible, And yet everything he had seen in the forest, the tracks that were too precise to belong to ordinary animals, the howls that seemed almost like communication, suddenly began to make sense. The wolf's gaze softened. You have saved creatures when others would have ignored them. You have protected the land when others would have taken without thought. Your choices have shown us that you are worthy. Ethan finally found his voice, though it was trembling. Why me? I'm just a man living alone in the woods. You're more than that, the creature replied. You have the capacity to bridge worlds. That is why we have chosen you. There will be challenges ahead, dangers you cannot yet imagine. But if you accept, you will not face them alone. For a long moment, Ethan simply stared, trying to process everything. The storm outside seemed to fade into the background. All that existed in that moment was the wolf, and the unspoken promise that something extraordinary was beginning. He thought of his quiet life, the solitude, the forest, the animals he cared for, and now he felt the weight of a new responsibility, one that seemed terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. Could he rise to this challenge? Could he trust this being who was both terrifying and magnificent? The wolf seemed to sense his hesitation. It stepped back slightly, giving him space, yet its golden eyes never left him. We will give you time, it said. But understand, this our species does not choose lightly. We have watched many humans, and few have the balance of compassion and strength required. You are one of them. Whether you accept or not, the moment has arrived, and your life will never be the same. Ethan nodded slowly. There was no turning back. In that instant, he felt a mix of fear, awe, and an unexpected sense of purpose. The forest around him, once a place of quiet solitude, now felt alive in a way it never had before. He knew that the wolf's words were not a dream or a trick. They were real, and they demanded a response. As the storm began to subside, the wolf turned and disappeared into the shadows of the forest. But its presence lingered in Ethan's mind, in his heart, and in the very air around him. He understood that this encounter was only the beginning. The hidden world of the wolf species had opened its door, and he had been invited inside. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He thought about the wolf's words over and over. He thought about the choices he had made in his life, the kindness he had shown, and the respect he had always tried to hold for nature. Now, all of that seemed connected to something much larger than himself. By morning, the storm had passed. The snow-covered forest was calm, peaceful, and beautiful. But Ethan knew that it was not the same forest he had woken up to the day before. Somewhere out there, the Wolf Queen waited. The path of his life had already shifted. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling both fear and anticipation. He stepped outside, looking at the tracks in the snow. They were unlike anything he had ever seen, larger, more precise, and fading into the distance. He knew one thing for certain. He had been chosen, and nothing in his life would ever be ordinary again. The wilderness that had once been a place of solitude had become a place of destiny. And somewhere in the trees, in the quiet shadows, the Wolf Queen watched, her golden eyes never missing a detail. Waiting for him to take the first step into a world he had never imagined, Ethan didn't know what lay ahead, but he felt the first stirrings of courage. He would follow the path, whatever it might bring. He would face the unknown. And perhaps in time, he would understand why the Wolf Queen had chosen him. The snow sparkled in the morning light, and for the first time, the forest felt alive with secrets waiting to be revealed. Ethan took another deep breath, ready to meet the challenge. Somewhere deep inside, he knew that the quiet man who had once lived alone in the wilderness was gone. From this day forward, he would live as someone chosen for something extraordinary, a responsibility that was frightening, inspiring, and entirely real. After the encounter with the Wolf Queen, Ethan could not stop thinking about what had happened. Every sound in the forest, every rustle of leaves, seemed to carry meaning now. The tracks he had seen the night before were still fresh in his mind, and he found himself following them, almost as if an invisible thread was guiding him deeper into the wilderness. He felt nervous, but curiosity pushed him forward. He had lived in these forests for years, yet never had he felt such a mixture of fear and wonder as he walked. Memories of his life filled his mind, his childhood spent in cities, always feeling out of place, and his eventual decision to leave the noise behind. He remembered the small acts of kindness he had performed, like rescuing a wounded fox trapped in a snare or nursing a baby bird back to health. It seemed strange now that those simple choices had led to something so extraordinary. How could such small acts matter to a being like the Wolf Queen? Hours passed as he followed the tracks. The forest grew denser, and the snow seemed untouched by human presence. There were no roads, no footprints, other than those of the strange creature. Ethan realized that he was moving into a place where ordinary humans rarely dared to go. The air felt different here, almost charged, and the silence was profound. He could feel the eyes of the forest upon him, watching, waiting. Finally, he came to a clearing. The trees opened up to reveal a scene that made his heart race. In the center, a massive formation of stones surrounded a glowing light. The air shimmered slightly, and a sense of calm authority hung over the place. The Wolf Queen appeared again, standing tall and majestic, her silver fur shining even under the pale light of the sky. She looked at him with golden eyes that seemed to pierce through his thoughts. "You have come," she said, her voice carrying a calm power. "Few humans would follow without fear. This is why we have chosen you." Ethan bowed his head slightly, unsure how to respond. I don't understand." "Why me? What do you want from me?" The Wolf Queen's expression softened. "You are chosen not for what you are, but for what you have shown yourself to be capable of. Compassion, patience, respect for life, these qualities are rare among your kind. Many humans act out of greed, fear, or pride. You have shown that you can act with care, even when no one is watching. That is why you have been noticed." Ethan felt a mix of pride and disbelief. It was hard to believe that his quiet, unnoticed life had been observed by beings from another world. "But how long have you been watching me?" he asked. "For generations," the Wolf Queen replied. "Our species has hidden on this planet for centuries. We learned to survive in secrecy, observing humans from the shadows. Most of your kind are unaware of our presence. You are different because you have shown that humans are capable of goodness, and we seek that in someone who can act as a bridge between our worlds." Ethan took a deep breath, trying to process the idea. He had spent his life caring for animals, respecting nature, and living simply. He never imagined that these choices could connect him to an ancient hidden species. Yet here he was, standing in a glowing forest clearing, facing a creature that defied everything he thought possible. The Wolf Queen continued, "We are not merely animals, as your species might assume. We have intelligence, culture, and history. We have faced dangers that forced us into hiding, and now our survival depends on someone like you. There will be challenges ahead, dangers that humans cannot imagine. But you have the heart and mind to help us navigate this world." Ethan felt a mixture of awe and fear. I don't know if I am ready for this. I am just a man. I don't have the power you do. I don't belong in your world. You do not need to possess power in the way you imagine," the Wolf Queen said. "Power comes in many forms. Your strength is in your choices, your empathy, and your ability to understand. These are the tools that will allow you to help us." The clearing grew quieter, and Ethan felt a sense of peace he had never experienced before. The Wolf Queen stepped closer, lowering her head to meet his gaze. "Come, I will show you more. You must understand our history if you are to help us." She led him through the forest, moving with a grace that was almost supernatural. The deeper they went, the more Ethan noticed subtle signs of the Wolf Queen species, enormous nests hidden in trees, careful paths cleared through the snow, and faint traces of other wolf-like beings watching from a distance. It became clear that the forest itself had been shaped by these creatures over many years. Finally, they arrived at a secluded valley. It was surrounded by tall cliffs, and a gentle river ran through it, glistening in the pale sunlight. Dozens of wolf-like beings gathered there, each different, yet similar in appearance to the queen. They watched Ethan silently, curious but cautious. Their presence was both intimidating and comforting. The Wolf Queen addressed them. This is the human we have chosen. He has shown himself worthy. Watch him carefully, for he will walk among us and learn our ways." The beings shifted slightly but did not approach. Ethan realized that this was a community hidden from the human world, a civilization that had survived in secret for centuries. He felt both honored and overwhelmed. "Your people have survived long by hiding," Ethan said, finally finding his voice. "How did you manage it?" "We adapted," the queen replied. "We learned from humans without being seen. We used intelligence and cooperation to protect ourselves. Yet even in hiding we faced losses. Our kind has known danger and betrayal. We have watched the world change while we remained unseen, hoping that one day someone worthy would help us maintain the balance." Ethan looked around at the valley and felt a sense of responsibility growing inside him. The creatures were not just wolves. They were a living, breathing civilization, relying on someone from the human world to understand and protect them. It was a weight he had never imagined, yet he felt a strange sense of purpose. The Wolf Queen led him to the center of the valley, where a large stone platform stood. She gestured for him to sit, and he did, feeling the eyes of the hidden civilization upon him. "You will learn our ways," she said. "You will see our history, our struggles, and our hopes. And you will understand why your heart matters more than your strength." Hours passed as she told him stories. She spoke of their home world, a place of beauty and wonder, lost to them through forces beyond their control. She described the long journey to Earth, the adaptations they had made, and the trials they faced while hiding from humans who would not understand them. Ethan listened, captivated. The stories were filled with sorrow and resilience, danger and hope. At one point, Ethan asked, "Why reveal yourselves now? Why choose me after so long?" The queen looked at him with her golden eyes, thoughtful. "Because the time has come. Your world is changing, and our survival depends on a human who can act with understanding and integrity. Many have come before, but none were chosen. You have shown patience, empathy, and courage. These qualities are rare, and they are what will allow us to face the future together." Ethan felt the enormity of her words. He realized that this was more than an encounter, it was a responsibility. He was being asked to bridge two worlds, to protect and guide, to act as a link between humans and a hidden civilization. The idea was terrifying, yet a part of him felt ready. He had always sought purpose in his quiet life. Perhaps this was it. The Wolf Queen rose and stepped back, giving him space. "Rest now," she said. "You have walked far and learned much. When you awaken, we will continue. There is much to understand, and the choices you make will shape the future of both our worlds." Ethan lay down on the snow, surprisingly warm despite the cold air. He stared at the sky, watching the clouds drift slowly, feeling the weight of his destiny settle over him. He thought about his life, his choices, and the quiet acts of kindness that had led him to this point. For the first time, he felt a connection to something much larger than himself, something that required courage, patience, and compassion. As he drifted into a restless sleep, the Wolf Queen watched from a distance, her eyes reflecting both hope and concern. She knew that the human she had chosen had the heart to face what lay ahead, but the path would not be easy. Challenges awaited, and the world outside the hidden valley was filled with unknown dangers. Yet she trusted him, as she trusted few in her long history. The snow fell gently around them, covering the tracks and hiding the secrets of the valley. Inside, a bond had begun between a human and a species that had survived through intelligence, adaptation, and faith in the goodness of one special individual. The story of trust, choice, and destiny was only beginning, and the forest itself seemed to whisper that this was the start of something extraordinary. Ethan's life had changed forever. He had been chosen, and though he did not yet fully understand what it meant, he knew that he could not turn back. The hidden world of the Wolf Queen and her people had opened to him, and his journey had just begun. The days that followed were both exciting and overwhelming for Ethan. The hidden valley and its mysterious inhabitants had opened a world unlike anything he had ever imagined. Every morning, he woke to the golden gaze of the Wolf Queen watching him from a distance. Her presence was both comforting and intimidating. He knew she was testing him, observing how he moved, spoke, and acted among her people. Every choice he made seemed to matter, and the weight of it pressed on him. Even as he felt a growing sense of purpose, Ethan quickly realized that life in the hidden civilization required patience and respect. The wolf-like beings were intelligent, graceful, and strong, but they were cautious around him. Some kept their distance, curious but wary. Others watched him closely, their eyes sharp, as if trying to understand whether he truly belonged. The Wolf Queen had told him that he needed to prove himself. And he knew that proving trust was not about words, it was about actions. One morning, he was asked to accompany a group of wolf scouts into the forest. Their task was to patrol the borders of the valley, ensuring that no human intruders discovered their secret. Ethan had never been part of something so important, and he felt both anxious and honored. The Wolf Queen had given him a chance to show that he could act with courage and integrity. As they moved silently through the forest, Ethan observed the scouts' movements. They were swift, almost like shadows, and each one seemed to know the land intimately. They communicated in subtle ways, gestures, glances, even soft sounds that Ethan could not understand. He tried to follow their lead, matching his pace and remaining quiet. It was difficult at first, but he was determined to show that he could learn. Hours passed, and the patrol came upon a human campsite on the outskirts of the forest. Ethan's heart raced. He knew the scouts expected him to help assess the situation. If the humans discovered the hidden civilization, it could be disastrous. He remembered the Wolf Queen's words, "Your actions will define our trust in you." Ethan carefully approached the edge of the camp. He saw that the humans were hunters, setting traps and marking trees. It would have been easy to simply leave or hide, but Ethan realized that his responsibility went beyond fear. He needed to act in a way that protected both the forest and the hidden beings who lived there. With steady hands and a calm heart, he dismantled some of the traps without alerting the humans. The scouts watched silently, their golden eyes assessing his every move. When the humans left, Ethan returned to the scouts. They did not speak, but their approval was clear in the subtle nods and relaxed stances. The Wolf Queen, watching from a distance, would later explain that this was a test of his loyalty, intelligence, and respect for life. He had passed, not by force, but by careful action and thoughtfulness. Back in the valley, life continued with lessons in both skill and understanding. Ethan learned how the wolf-like beings hunted, gathered, and protected one another. He learned their customs, their language of gestures and sounds, and their history. The queen often spoke to him in long conversations, revealing the struggles her species had faced over centuries. They had survived by being hidden, yet they had also learned to adapt, to communicate, and to live in harmony with the forest and its creatures. One afternoon, while walking beside a crystal-clear river, Ethan asked the queen about the dangers humans posed. "Why are they so threatening?" he asked. "If they only knew, wouldn't they leave you alone?" The queen shook her head. "Most humans act out of fear or ignorance. They see what they do not understand as a threat. Our kind is powerful, but we choose peace. That is why we hide. Yet there are always those who will seek to harm what they cannot control. That is why your role is important. You can act where humans would fail to understand, and your choices can protect both our worlds." Ethan thought about his own life. He had always tried to act with kindness, even in small ways, helping injured animals, leaving the forest cleaner than he found it, and respecting the balance of nature were all choices that seemed insignificant to others. But now he understood that those actions mattered in ways he could never have imagined. His simple respect for life had earned the trust of a hidden civilization and placed him in a position of great responsibility. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan began to feel more comfortable among the wolf-like beings. Some were still cautious around him, but others began to accept his presence. They shared meals, stories, and even moments of play. He learned to move silently through the forest like they did, to observe without disturbing, and to understand the signs of the land, the tracks of animals, the flow of the river, and the shifting patterns of weather. Yet, despite the progress, there were challenges. Not all of the wolf-like beings trusted him immediately. Some saw him as weak, a a human who could not possibly survive in their world. They would test him with tasks, sometimes deliberately placing him in situations where he had to make quick decisions. One evening, he was asked to navigate a dangerous part of the forest to retrieve a rare herb needed for medicine. The path was steep, covered with ice, and patrolled by wolves who were aggressive toward outsiders. Ethan had to rely on both courage and intelligence to succeed. He moved carefully, observed patterns, and waited for the right moment to act. When he returned with the herb, the beings acknowledged his success with cautious respect. Through these experiences, Ethan began to understand the meaning of being chosen. It was not about being the strongest or the fastest. It was about acting with integrity, showing courage in small and large ways, and understanding that trust was earned through consistency and thoughtfulness. The Wolf Queen watched him, often silently, as he grew in confidence and skill. One evening, as the sun set behind the cliffs surrounding the valley, Ethan sat with the Queen by the river. The water sparkled in the fading light, and the air was calm. "I feel honored," he said quietly, "but I also feel overwhelmed. There is so much I don't understand, so much I cannot control." The Queen looked at him with her golden eyes. "That is natural. You have been given a great responsibility, and it is not meant to be easy. Every step you take will shape our world and your own. But know this: you are not alone. We will guide you, and we will watch. Your heart and your choices are what matter most. Strength comes not from force, but from wisdom, courage, and compassion." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He realized that this journey would change him forever. His quiet life in the wilderness had been a preparation for this moment, a foundation that had shown the Wolf Queen that he was worthy. And now, as he sat beside her, he felt the stirrings of a connection that went beyond fear or awe. He felt the beginnings of trust, respect, and understanding. The following days brought new lessons. Ethan was taught how to communicate more effectively with the wolf-like beings, using subtle gestures and sounds. He learned the intricacies of their society, how they cared for one another, resolved conflicts, and passed down wisdom from generation to generation. He realized that their survival had depended on cooperation, empathy, and intelligence, qualities that mirrored his own values. But it was not only lessons of society that he learned. The Wolf Queen began to share stories of her people's history, filled with triumphs and tragedies. They had once lived on a distant planet, a world of beauty and abundance, before disaster had forced them to flee. Many had perished, and those who survived had come to Earth, hiding in its forests and mountains. Their society had grown stronger through adaptation, but they had always remained cautious of humans. Fearing the misunderstanding and fear that often came with curiosity, Ethan listened, captivated by the tales. He began to understand that being chosen was not merely an honor, it was a call to responsibility. He had to act wisely, not only for the safety of the wolf-like beings, but also to preserve the delicate balance between their world and his own. Every decision, every action mattered. One night, as he lay in a small clearing under the stars, Ethan reflected on everything he had learned. He realized that he had grown in ways he had never imagined. He was no longer just a man living alone in the forest. He was a bridge between worlds, a protector of a hidden civilization, and a witness to a story far larger than himself. The Wolf Queen appeared beside him, silent and watchful. She gazed at the stars for a long moment before speaking. "Your journey is only beginning," she said softly. "The tests you have faced so far were small compared to what is coming. But you have shown the qualities we value most: courage, intelligence, and compassion. These will guide you through the challenges ahead." Ethan nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and excitement. He did not know what lay ahead, but he understood that he had been chosen for a reason. The path would not be easy, and there would be trials that would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. But he was ready to face them, knowing that he was part of something extraordinary. As the night deepened, the valley seemed alive with quiet energy. The wolf-like beings moved silently, their eyes reflecting the moonlight. Somewhere in the distance, the forest whispered secrets of survival, trust, and hope. And in the center of it all, Ethan began to understand the true meaning of being chosen. He had been given a chance to prove himself, not through strength or dominance, but through understanding, courage, and empathy. The following weeks tested Ethan in ways he had never imagined. He had learned the ways of the wolf-like beings, understood their society, and passed their early tests of trust. But now the Wolf Queen revealed to him that the challenges ahead were far greater. It was no longer a matter of simple loyalty or quiet courage. He would soon face responsibilities that could shape the future of both the hidden civilization and the human world. One morning, she approached him in the clearing where he often practiced moving silently through the snow. Her golden eyes seemed heavier than usual, carrying the weight of knowledge and worry. "Ethan," she began softly, "what I am about to tell you will change everything. You are not only chosen to live among us. You are chosen to protect us." Ethan frowned. "Protect you? From what?" The Wolf Queen led him to a secluded part of the valley, where the cliffs rose high and the forest thickened. There, she gestured to a series of ancient markings etched into the rocks. They were symbols that told the history of her people, the story of their struggles, their survival, and the dangers that had chased them across worlds. "Our species has always been cautious," she explained. "We have hidden from humans for centuries. Most of your kind would not understand, and many would see us as a threat. But there is more to fear than misunderstanding. There are forces that could destroy us if we remain vulnerable, forces that do not care for life or balance. That is why you have been chosen. You have the ability to act where others cannot, to protect our secrets, and to ensure the survival of both our species and yours." Ethan felt a cold shiver run through him. He had faced wild animals, harsh winters, and the quiet dangers of the forest. But this was something entirely different. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, heavier than any snow-covered tree or mountain cliff he had ever climbed. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "I am just a man. I cannot fight like you can. I cannot see like you, hear like you, or move like you. I am not strong enough." The Queen's eyes softened. "Strength is not always measured in power or speed. The strength we need now is in your heart, your choices, and your mind. You have already proven that you can act with courage, wisdom, and empathy. These qualities are far more valuable than claws or teeth." Akatha nodded slowly, though doubt lingered in his mind. He thought about the human world outside the valley, a world full of noise, greed, and carelessness. How could someone like him possibly protect a hidden civilization from dangers he could barely imagine? Over the next days, the Queen began to show him the deeper workings of their society. Ethan learned about the patrols, the methods of gathering food, and the ways the wolf-like beings maintained secrecy. He saw the intelligence of their community, how each member had a role, and how their survival depended on unity and foresight. But alongside these lessons, he also learned of the threats. Humans who might stumble upon their valley, environmental dangers, and even internal struggles within the wolf-like beings themselves. One evening, the Queen took him to the edge of a high cliff overlooking the valley. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. "Ethan," she said, her voice carrying a rare softness, "you must understand that being chosen carries a burden. You will face fear, isolation, and choices that could break you if you are not careful. But you must remember, you are not alone. I am here, and we will guide you. You have the heart to face this, but the path will not be easy." Ethan looked down at the valley below, feeling the enormity of the responsibility before him. Every decision he made from this point forward could affect not only the wolf-like beings, but also the delicate balance of the forest and the human world beyond. He felt a mixture of fear, awe, determination. The following days brought practical lessons that tested both his courage and intelligence. The Queen asked him to navigate a section of the forest that had been marked as dangerous. It was a place where humans occasionally ventured, where traps and technology could harm her people. Ethan had to move carefully, using everything he had learned about observation, patience, and understanding the environment. Each step required thought, and one mistake could expose the hidden civilization during the journey. Ethan encountered several challenges. A fallen tree blocked the path, and beneath it lay a trap set by hunters. His heart raced, but he remembered the Queen's teachings. He carefully removed the trap and marked the area, ensuring it would not endanger the wolf-like beings. Later, he came across signs of human activity, footprints, discarded food wrappers, and the remnants of a fire. Each discovery tested his resolve. He had to remain calm, act wisely, and protect the secret of the valley. When he returned, the Queen assessed his actions silently. She nodded, a rare smile touching her features. "You have passed this test," she said. "Not because you acted with force, but because you acted with thought, care, and respect. This is the strength we value most." But not all challenges were physical. The Queen also began to test Ethan's emotional strength. She shared stories of past members of her species who had been betrayed, lost or failed because they could not bear the weight of responsibility. Ethan listened, sometimes in silence, feeling the sadness and resilience in each tale. He realized that protecting this civilization required more than skill. It required empathy, wisdom, and the ability to make difficult choices. One night, as a gentle snow fell over the valley, Ethan sat with the Queen under a canopy of trees. He looked at the glowing stars above and felt the full weight of his destiny. "I understand now," he said softly. "Being chosen isn't just about being trusted. It's about responsibility, and it's about facing fear, even when I don't feel strong enough." The Queen's golden eyes met his. "Exactly. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when you feel alone, when the choices are frightening. But remember this: your heart, your choices, and your courage are what define you. That is why you were chosen. And that is why I trust you." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and humility. He knew the path ahead would be difficult. He knew that danger, uncertainty, and fear would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. But he also felt a growing sense of purpose. For the first time, he truly understood the meaning of his selection. It was not about power, speed, or survival alone. It was about the ability to make choices that reflected compassion, wisdom, and courage. The following week, the Queen introduced him to another test, one that would challenge both his intelligence and judgment. She led him to a narrow canyon where signs of human activity had been detected. Several wolf-like beings had gone missing, likely frightened or trapped by human intrusion. Ethan was asked to find and guide them back to safety. He moved carefully, observing the canyon, listening to subtle sounds, and reading signs that only someone with patience and understanding could interpret. After hours of careful search, he found the lost beings, frightened but unharmed. With gentle guidance, he led them back to the valley. The Queen watched silently from above, her golden eyes reflecting approval and trust. That night, Ethan understood the true burden of being chosen. It was not just about performing heroic deeds. It was about careful thought, empathy, and understanding the consequences of each action. Every choice mattered, every decision carried weight, and every act of care could save lives. In the quiet moments that followed, Ethan often reflected on his life before the Wolf Queen appeared. His days had been simple, focused on survival and respect for nature. Now, his life was a mixture of wonder, responsibility, and challenges that tested every part of him. Yet he felt a sense of fulfillment he had never known. He realized that being chosen was both an honor and a burden, a path that would shape him in ways he could not yet imagine. The Wolf Queen remained by his side, guiding him, teaching him, and observing him. She knew that he would face moments of fear, doubt, and uncertainty, but she also knew that he had the heart to rise to the challenges. Her trust in him was not blind. It was based on the choices he had already made, the courage he had shown, and the compassion that had defined his life. Ethan looked out over the valley, feeling the quiet power of the hidden civilization around him. He knew that the path ahead would be difficult, that dangers awaited both in the forest and beyond. But he also knew that he had been given a chance to make a difference, to protect a species that had survived for centuries, and to bridge the worlds of humans and wolf-like beings as the first light of dawn touched the snow-covered peaks. Ethan felt a deep sense of purpose. He had been chosen, and though the burden was heavy, he knew that he could face it. The Wolf Queen had shown him the path, and he had begun to walk it with courage, wisdom, and empathy. The forest was quiet, but it held secrets and challenges that would test him again, and Ethan, for the first time, felt ready. He understood that being chosen meant more than honor, it meant responsibility, courage, and the ability to act wisely in the face of fear. And with that understanding, he took his first steps into a future that was uncertain, yet full of promise. The weeks that followed brought a mixture of challenge, growth, and discovery for Ethan. He had passed many tests, learned the ways of the wolf-like beings, and begun to understand the weight of the responsibility the Wolf Queen had entrusted to him. Yet he knew that the most difficult trials were still ahead. The survival of the hidden civilization, and perhaps the balance of the forest itself, depended on his choices. He could not afford mistakes. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierced the valley, the Wolf Queen approached him with a serious expression. Her golden eyes reflected both determination and concern. "Ethan," she said, "a situation has arisen that will test you more than anything before. A group of humans has unknowingly entered the outer edges of our territory. They are curious, and they may discover our home. It is up to you to protect us without revealing our existence. You must act with wisdom and care, or the consequences could be disastrous." Ethan felt a rush of fear. The responsibility weighed heavily on him, but he also felt a steady determination. He had learned from the Queen, from the hidden beings, and from his own past experiences that courage was not the absence of fear, it was acting despite it. He nodded silently. "I understand. I will do everything I can." The Wolf Queen led him to a vantage point overlooking the path the humans had taken. From there, Ethan could see the group moving slowly, unaware of the dangers around them and of the secret civilization hidden in the valley below. He could also sense the tension in the wolf-like beings who had gathered nearby. Their golden eyes watched him, waiting to see what he would do. Ethan took a deep breath and considered his options carefully. Using the lessons he had learned, he decided to create a subtle distraction to guide the humans away from the valley. He knocked over branches, leaving tracks that led them in a different direction, and used his voice and gestures to mimic animal sounds, steering them along a safer path. His actions were precise, deliberate, and careful. The humans, thinking they were merely following trails in the forest, moved further away from the hidden valley. Ethan remained hidden, his heart pounding, until he was certain they would not return. When he finally emerged, the wolf-like beings approached him cautiously.
Ow.
Their expressions a mixture of relief and respect. The Wolf Queen stepped forward, her presence calm but commanding. "You have done well, Ethan," she said. "You acted with intelligence, care, and courage. You did not rely on force, but on wisdom. That is the strength we need." Ethan felt a surge of pride, but also a deeper understanding of his role. He realized that being chosen was not simply an honor, it was a responsibility that required thought, patience, and constant vigilance. Every action mattered, and every decision had consequences. Over the next few days, Ethan continued to assist the hidden civilization. He helped reinforce their borders, observed patterns of human activity, and ensured that the valley remained safe and hidden. The wolf-like beings began to trust him more fully, allowing him closer to their inner circle. They shared their stories, their knowledge, and even moments of joy and play. Ethan felt a sense of belonging he had never known, as if he had found a second home in the midst of the wilderness. Yet, even in moments of peace, Ethan could feel the weight of his responsibility pressing on him. He often thought about the human world beyond the forest, a world that might never understand the hidden civilization or the bond he had formed with the Queen and her people. He knew that the challenges ahead would require not only courage but also wisdom, patience, and a deep understanding of both worlds. One evening, the Wolf Queen called him to the center of the valley. The sky was painted with the colors of sunset, and the air was calm. "Ethan," she said, "you have proven yourself in many ways, but there is one final lesson you must understand. Leadership and protection are not about control or dominance. They are about trust, empathy, and understanding. You have shown these qualities, but now you must see the full responsibility of your choice. She led him to a high ridge overlooking the entire valley. Ethan could see the hidden civilization below, the careful patterns of movement, the gathering of resources, and the silent vigilance of the wolf-like beings. It was a living, breathing society, fragile yet resilient. Shaped by centuries of experience and survival, the danger you face is not always visible, the queen continued. It comes from ignorance, misunderstanding, and fear. Humans may never seek to harm us deliberately, but their actions can still bring destruction. That is why your choices are so important. You are our bridge, our guardian, and our voice. Your actions will determine whether our species remains hidden or faces ruin. Ethan understood the gravity of her words. He thought about all the lessons he had learned. The careful navigation of the forest, the protection of the valley, the guidance of lost or frightened beings, and the subtle but crucial decisions that had kept the hidden civilization safe. He realized that his role was larger than he had ever imagined in the days that followed. A sense of calm and purpose settled over Ethan. He continued to work alongside the wolf-like beings, guiding, learning, and protecting. He felt the trust of the queen and her people, a trust that inspired him to act wisely and with care. Every step he took, every decision he made, was deliberate and thoughtful. He understood that his life had changed forever, that he was no longer just a human living in the wilderness. One night, as the snow fell softly over the valley, Ethan sat beside the Wolf Queen. They watched the stars above, silent for a long moment. "I have learned so much," he said softly. "I understand the weight of being chosen, the responsibility, and the trust. I feel ready, but I also know there is always more to learn." The queen looked at him with her golden eyes, filled with pride and reassurance. "You have grown in ways we could not have predicted," she said. "Your heart, your courage, and your wisdom have proven that you are worthy. You are now not only our protector, but also our bridge to the world beyond. The journey ahead will have challenges, but we trust you to act with the care and understanding that you have shown." Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He realized that being chosen was not about power or glory, was about responsibility, empathy, and the courage to act wisely. He had grown stronger, not just in skill, but in heart, understanding, purpose. As the weeks turned into months, Ethan continued to build a bond with the hidden civilization. He shared knowledge from the human world that could help them, while respecting their secrecy and traditions. He helped guide young wolf-like beings, taught them strategies to navigate the forest safely, and ensured that their way of life remained protected. The wolf-like beings began to see him not just as a human, but as a trusted member of their community. They respected his judgment, relied on his guidance, and even sought his advice on difficult matters. Ethan realized that trust was not given, it was earned through consistent action, thoughtfulness, and care. One day the Wolf Queen approached him with a rare smile. "Ethan," she said, "you have done more than we could have hoped. You have shown that humans can be worthy of trust, capable of understanding, and able to act with courage and wisdom. You have proven that a bridge between our worlds is possible. For this, we are grateful." Ethan felt a warm sense of pride, mixed with humility. He knew that the journey was ongoing, that challenges would continue to arise, and that his role would never be simple. But he also felt a profound sense of purpose, knowing that he had made a difference, that he had protected a hidden civilization, and that he had grown into the person the Wolf Queen had seen in him from the beginning. As he looked over the valley one final time that evening, Ethan felt a deep connection to the wolf-like beings and to the forest. He realized that life had given him an extraordinary opportunity, not for glory or recognition, but for purpose, growth, and understanding. The hidden civilization was safe. The Wolf Queen trusted him, and he had become a true bridge between worlds. The forest was quiet. The snow glimmered in the soft light of the moon, and the hidden civilization thrived in peaceful secrecy. Ethan felt the first stirrings of a new confidence. Knowing that he had faced fear, responsibility, and uncertainty and had grown stronger, wiser, and more compassionate as he turned to leave the ridge. He felt a gentle nudge of reassurance from the Wolf Queen. Her eyes, filled with warmth and trust, told him that he had truly earned his place among them. Ethan understood now that being chosen was not simply about destiny, it was about the choices he made, the courage he showed, and the wisdom he carried forward from that day on. Ethan lived with a sense of purpose unlike anything he had known before. He was a protector, a guide, and a friend to the hidden civilization. He continued to learn, to grow, and to act with care and thoughtfulness. And as he walked through the snowy forest, he knew that his life had been forever changed by the choice the Wolf Queen had made. In the quiet moments, when the valley was still and the moonlight danced on the snow, Ethan would remember the first words the Wolf Queen had spoken to him. "Prepare yourself. Our species has chosen you," and he would smile, knowing that he had risen to the challenge, embraced the responsibility, and honored the trust placed in him. The hidden civilization remained safe, their world preserved through courage, empathy, and careful choices. And Ethan,